Rising crime in New York City and around the country. The NYPD says a 21-year-old tourist, a Marine, was the unintended victim of a daylight shooting in Times Square on Sunday. This comes just one day after New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says the media is stirring up, quote, hysteria about crime. Joining me now, New York Congresswoman and a member of the House Transportation and Infrastructure and Foreign Affairs Committees, Nicole Malliotakis. Congresswoman, so wonderful of you to be here always. But if you look at the list of crime statistics just here in New York City, it's not just shootings and murder that are up. It is, of the crimes that are up, it is murder, rape, felony assault, grand larceny auto, hate crimes, shooting incidents, shooting victims, other sex crimes, other types of rape, housing crimes, and petty larceny. And I just, the response from the Democrats is just, well, I would say shocking, but it's typical, is it not?
Well, of course they want you to look the other way now because they created this problem, whether it be through their rhetoric, whether it be through their policies that totally dismantled bail reform in New York, and it's just releasing people left and right back onto our streets, even those with extensive criminal histories, whether it be the defunding of the police. Remember, 1/6 of the NYPD budget was cut last year. They're the ones who created this problem, and now they don't want people to look at these stats and see that there's something desperately wrong. But the people know it because they see the news, they read the newspaper, they see it every day. And one of the astounding facts related to bail reform is 9 out of 10 of those individuals caught with an illegal firearm are released back onto our streets, and 50% of the people that actually shoot someone are being released back onto the streets. So it's a major epidemic that we have right now. We fought very hard and pushed back. I was a member of the Assembly at the time to get homicide, manslaughter, felony drug charges, and some hate crimes back onto the list in which a judge can use discretion. But there's still a long way to go if they're going to address this issue and really fix it in New York.
I said on the 5 last week, because let's just point out, and this was Joe Biden coming out and saying, oh, you states can use money to fund police departments that you got through my stimulus earlier this year, even though that's not how it was allocated. So all the Democrats are trying to memory hole the fact they ignored the rioting on the streets last year and dismissed it, calling it mostly peaceful protest. The looting, not a peep from the Democrats. And then the defund and the demonize and the defang police rhetoric, they're trying to wipe that out as well. But I said on the 5, President Biden and Kamala Harris both are in favor of bail reform, of getting rid of bail for, just in the way New York has, for most offenses. And when the bail reform was written here in New York City, and you know this, I'm just saying this out loud for the audience, but here are some of the offenses that didn't require a suspect to put up bail: promoting or possessing a sexual performance by a child, reckless assault of a child, second-degree manslaughter, assault as a hate crime, and arson. This is who the Democrats are.
Yeah, and some of these people have extensive histories. 2 of the hate crimes that occurred in New York City recently, one individual had 40 prior arrests, the other had 77 prior arrests. So until the Democrats and Governor Cuomo decide that they're going to fix the bail reform, we're going to continue to have this problem. And Mayor de Blasio needs to restore the NYPD plainclothes unit that went after violent crime. But let's not forget that Nancy Pelosi tried to take the bail reform and put it in the COVID relief package. That's how out of touch these individuals in Washington are, and I feel like that's one of my primary responsibilities here, is to try to stop what's happened in New York City from coming to Washington on the federal level.
The Democrats like to talk but not walk, and what you're seeing from them in Washington in particular, because they know this is a losing issue, because that is the kind of primary duty of government, is the safety and security of the American people, but they're just trying to use words to deflect the blame or responsibility. How do the Republicans not only message this, but ensure that our streets are safer than they are right now?
Well, we just continue to expose what's happening as a result of these policies, and we have those little victories. Look, it was a shame in New York that we had to fight for 7 months to get manslaughter and homicide taken off the list, put back on the list in which a judge can use discretion. Think about that. 7 months just to get some common sense. But people have to recognize that this is happening in only in Democratic-run cities. If you look where the crime has truly skyrocketed, it is correlated with the anti-police rhetoric, with the defund the police, with bail reform changes. And so if President Biden wants to be helpful, he would talk to Mayor de Blasio and Governor Cuomo. And if not, we have to take it out in the ballot box. What's interesting in New York City and what's refreshing is that both parties on Tuesday's primary night to elect a new mayor to follow Mayor de Blasio, they both selected the candidate who positioned themselves as the law and order candidate. So I thought that was good news, and 77% of New York City Democrats said that they want more police on our street and that public safety is the #1 issue that's facing our city. So it seems the tide is turning, and we've done a good job in exposing what has been happening and getting public opinion to shift.
And I want to bring Congresswoman Liz Peek in here. Liz, here's a quote. If the Democratic Party fails to recognize what we did here in New York, they're going to have a problem in the midterm elections, and they're going to have a problem in the presidential election. That's a Democrat. That's Eric Adams, who's in first place in the Democrat primary for mayor, and his win potentially comes from voters in the outer boroughs among Black and Latino voters who feel and witness the spike in crime more than other people. The kind of like snooty liberal elitists didn't even vote for him here in Manhattan.
Yeah, good morning, Nicole. Thanks for joining us. I think the election of Eric Adams was an absolute shot across the bow for progressives. And it's going to be interesting, I think. I mean, I'm wondering what you're hearing about businesses and the fact that they are very reluctant to send people back to New York in some cases because of the violence. It is mostly in Black and brown neighborhoods, but it's not entirely there, as we saw with this shooting in Times Square. Eric Adams very forcefully argued the city's economy won't come back unless the streets are safe. What are you hearing from businesses and business owners on that topic?
Look, the Partnership for New York City, which represents major corporations in New York, they came out with a study that showed that the majority of employees didn't want to go back to the city via subway because they were afraid of violence and they were afraid of crime. And so that is a major concern. If we want tourists to come back, if we want our employees to come back, if we want the businesses to actually come back and stay in New York, we need to provide public safety. That is government's paramount responsibility. And so I agree with the sentiment that in order for our economy to get back on track, we need to make everyone feel safe in our city.
Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, thank you so much for being here. More topics next time.
Thank you.
But again, innocent people are being shot in Times Square in broad daylight. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, your fellow congresswoman, refers to the reaction of people as hysteria. So we'll leave it at that.
She doesn't want cops on the subway either.
Which is, again, how are people expected to get to their jobs safely every day? The people who can't afford to drive and park, people who can't afford to take a cab or an Uber or a Lyft, they have to take the subway, and they're not safe.
Or have a security detail like her.
Right, exactly.
That's the hypocrisy of it. She goes around with a security detail, doesn't want cops on the subway for everyone else.
Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, thank you so much.